to the opinion of this current, which they're actually finishing. Because I believe those issues have been resolved. That is the clarification I require.
Point of order. With great respect, Governor, I don't think you can set your own marking scheme.
No,
and then
it's not a marking scheme. I'm saying
just allow the.
You know, if you do KCSE,
just
you
allow
from 2 results and from 3 results. Should not be used.
Just allow the Auditor General to undertake the process in accordance with the law and the Constitution.
Exactly. That is what I want.
And do not exert undue pressure for a certain result.
Yes. So just to clarify, I would never do that.
Well, yeah, we must protect the Auditor General.
The KCSE result should not be the average of Form 2 and 3.
Through you, Chairman, Governor,
but
Excellency Governor,
that's the new CBC.
You are already telling yourself how your audit is excellent, and the Deputy Director, gosh.
No, Senator
Boss,
Onyonka.
you know, these are the things you talk about, and we are like,
Senator Onyonka,
what does my Excellency Governor think who we are?
You're taking words out of my mouth. What I have said, and I am repeating a concern raised by the Auditor General himself.
But the auditor hasn't pronounced themselves. Let them pronounce themselves.
No, they have said the first two that you want to consolidate were disclaimer, and the second one was adverse.
Yes.
I'm sure the record will bear me out. That is what Makr said, isn't it? Maybe
We still don't know the opinion.
Onyonka.
We still don't know the opinion of the Auditor General in the current year.
Yeah,
so
yes, but the concern he has raised.
Let us not anticipate. Let us not anticipate debate. Let's allow the Auditor General to do their job. Because you see, if you don't fix the issues of 2 years ago, then there's no way you'll be okay today. If you don't fix the numbers,
I think you don't
of
understand
2 years ago.
I don't think you've gotten what I was.
No, I've heard you. I understand you.
And what Mark said also.
That you would wish to delink the two. Unfortunately, there is prior year issues which accounts for the opinion of the auditor in the current year. So what you need to do, if what you have brought to the Senate was in answer to the issues that were raised by the Auditor General, then just sit with the Auditor General, satisfy the Auditor General that those gaps have been closed, and if those gaps have not been closed, then just allow the Auditor General to report to the Senate on their findings.
Chair, I don't want to determine the outcome. Maybe if you allow him to expound on the point he said, because I feel that has not been taken into account. He raised a very significant point, Chair. Not even if you don't take what I've said, just hear what the Auditor General himself has pronounced on.
Mark, why is the governor coaching you on what to say?
He already said it. It's not me.
Mark?
Chair, if I may, the point I was raising was that in the previous years, we had a disclaimer of opinion, which means a disclaimer basically means the auditor could not form an opinion because there was no sufficient evidence to support an opinion. And then we had an adverse, which means there were matters of material, issues that were material to the extent that the client and the auditor could not agree. Therefore, an adverse opinion was issued. So, Chair, what we are saying is that these issues, of course, must be examined the year under review. And if the auditor finds that these matters have been addressed, then, of course, that will be the report that the matters have now been addressed. And if they are not, then they will still be in the audit report that will be coming. So, Chair,
then I think we are all speaking the same language.
Language, different accents.
Yeah, we're all speaking the same language, so I think we are in agreement.
Well, we just want to see output. So you are saying the philosophy is positive from those heading the executive. I would expect that if that was the case, there are 100 million shillings million US dollars that is stuck in Nairobi in the treasury for the water project. He should be able to unlock it as the head of state. The BRT at Thika Road, why is it stuck? Nothing is happening. The compensation for the people who are evicted for the Nairobi River, you're talking about billions of shillings. They were promised only, I think it was 10,000 shillings each. They have not seen that money. So in terms of output, Governor, which one of those things are you confident that you can deliver for the people of Nairobi before we go into the elections? Which one are you sure 100% that we will get to do? Can you at least promise us that that boulevard you are promising us along the river will be done before we go into the next elections? Because my job will be to remind you.
And I know you're good at reminding me.
Thank you. Maybe Honorable Chair and Honorable Governor, there is a small message that I have for you this morning. from the people of Kamkunji. I was in Kitui village, Honorable Chair, in the morning. We had a fire incident there on Wednesday, and we lost about 7 people. And over 100 people were affected as well. And Governor, when I was there, there are a few things that I was requested to bring to your attention. First of all is the state of Muratina Road, from the junction of General Warwinge at the Pumwani Maternity Hospital all the way down to Lamu Road. What are you hearing from the people at Kura about the state of that road? Because it is in terrible shape, and I've seen it myself. Just a few weeks ago, I think a few days ago, one of the local media stations actually ran an expose or a story on the state of roads in Nairobi. And whereas we might understand the situation in Kilimani and parts of Hurlingham because of the heavy construction equipment that is always on those roads, maybe you could update the people of Nairobi on the state of that road called Muratina Road. Secondly, Governor, I'm sure your team was there because I was told the firefighting team on this specific occasion did not do very badly. The words that were used by the people of Kamkunji was that they didn't do too badly. So please don't substitute the words with your own. But Governor, when I was there today, this morning, raw sewage is flowing into people's homes. I don't know if it has been brought to the attention of your teams and what they are doing about it. Lastly, Governor, we had a conversation with you here after the heavy rains. I think that was the last time you appeared here. You remember the case of the bridges that were swept away. And I think, if I'm not wrong, and you can jog my memory, you had told us that you're going to prioritize reconstruction of those bridges. The people there told me that that has not been done. So maybe you can address those issues just for the comfort of the people of Nairobi, and then we can delve into the main issues today. I thank you, Honorable Chair.
Okay, since that's a topical matter, perhaps I can allow a maximum of 5 minutes for the governor to respond or for any supplementary questions. Governor?
Chair, while that might not be the subject matter today on this audit, I think it's a good opportunity to respond. Indeed, we've had many cases of fires due to many reasons that we're dealing with, including illegal power connections. In this particular instance, it was 6 people who lost their lives. There were 2 families. There was Kenneth Orambo, a 45-year-old, and his children. There was Yusuf. There was Joanne and Jessica Orambo, who was 2.5 years. We're in contact with the family, Sarah and Jamal, after that incident. The other family was 2 people. There's a mother and a child. The mother is called Sylvia Akumu, and the child is Nelson, 2.5 years. Our team swung into action quite swiftly to solve, of course, issues of access, were a problem because of, the kind of informal settlement that we have there. And our deep condolences to those who lost loved ones. 6 people are 1 person too many to lose. We've given support. Those affected are currently at a hall nearby. We've been able to give food and material support. That is blankets, mattresses, and food stuff. And we're talking to the structure owners. These are tenants, but trying to see how to help them to reconstruct, and even with more training of fast response, because in as much as the nearest station would take them 8 or so minutes and they were there in less than 15, the fast responders normally are the young people around there, and we have a program of training young people across the city to be able to respond quickly. It is true there's this issue of state of roads, and which is why we really implore upon the Senate, even in as much as there's white smoke on the division of revenue, which we are not happy with as governors. There's the pending issue of RMLF. A lot of these roads, whose state has been raised, including Muratina and Jogoo was on the news, and you see vehicles jumping off those potholes. People are not able to distinguish whose responsibility it is, because those are national roads under Kura. You find that when RMLF which is a tax levied on everyone who uses fuel, the money is disbursed only to the national government, then counties are not able to maintain roads. Now, when you give this to members of parliament, for instance, which they do through Kera, we have Kenya rural roads doing roads in Nairobi, and this is an urban city. The prioritization of those roads is political. And so there is no MP who will put money on Jogo Road because there are no votes there. They'll go put money, the MP for Westlands, for instance, will do Kangemi, he will not do Westlands Shopping Center. The MP for the Great North will not touch Yaya Center or Agwins Kodek, they'll go to Kawangware. And that is why, as governors, we are saying that a tax raised nationally by every taxpayer using county or national roads should therefore also be distributed by the ratio of county roads versus national roads. And the county roads are actually more than national roads. Some of the roads we've been able to do, including in Isili, Waudo Street and a number of the avenues, was because we were able to get stuck RMLF from 2019 when we got into office, around 900 million or so that had been stuck during the previous regime because they diverted funds. I was able to get them and do many of the roads. If you go now to every ward in Nairobi, there are road projects going on through what we call our ward-based projects.
Well, maybe before he goes, because I was a member of that mediation committee, Governor, your colleagues, when they appear here, we have asked them about the relationship between themselves and their members of the National Assembly. Because the people of Nairobi, for instance, the people of Kamkunji, they really don't care which agency does what road. They don't care whether it is a member of the National Assembly, MCA, or governor who's doing the road. They just want the road done. So in the mediation itself, the members of the National Assembly had proposed a reduction of your or the county's shareable revenue to below even what you were to receive last year. They had proposed a slash to 380 billion. But for us as a Senate, and this is why, Governor, you need to speak to your colleagues, especially in the COG, we feel like the governors don't appreciate the work that the Senate does. If you hear some of the pronouncements from your colleagues directed at members of this House, it is as if they don't understand the work that we do. We have fought, and on principle, we have agreed with the National Assembly on three things. That number one, counties will never receive less than what they received in the previous or preceding financial year. Number two, that if there is a shortfall in revenue, the person or the entity to bear that is the national government. And thirdly, that Governor, year on year, Senate has always to demonstrate, the national government has always to demonstrate increase in the resources that the county governments receive. So whereas you're telling us that the COG is not happy with the 387, I would be more happy, Governor, if you were saying that we saved you 7 billion Kenya shillings that was going to be removed from the allocation to county governments. Because as you know, you are a senator. A mediation process does not get you entirely what you wanted. And I was getting a bit concerned because your colleagues were threatening to shut down counties, including some from my own political party, and I didn't understand why they were crying like that instead of allowing the Senate to conclude that process. So, in terms of fighting for counties, I think this Senate has done very well, but we don't see reciprocity in terms of just basic respect from members, not you personally, but from some of members of the COG. And I know you had ambitions to be chair of COG. I don't know how the campaigns went, but you need to be able to pass a message to your colleagues that some of the pronouncements really demoralize the Senate in our work.
You see,
I was astounded by your growing wisdom, and how you manage these issues. You're doing very well, which is true, because for the first 5 years I chaired, and I think you learned, and you're very good.
Order, Governor.
It's a compliment.
It is a general rule that when a governor praises a senator, then there's a problem.
No.
So I might want to ask you to withdraw your flowery comments.
I withdraw the praise. Chair, on DORA, if you look at 217B and PFM, I think 191.3A, a very dangerous precedent has been set, where Kara is being used to amend DORA. If you look at that, the memorandum that came, it is challengeable. And 219 says specifically that when there's a shortfall, it must be borne by the national government. So we are grateful, and I will talk to my colleagues, because it is not right to disparage the Senate in its efforts. I believe the Senate has done a great job in pushing for us. Of course, in this mediation, maybe the approach could have been different, but that is crying over spilt milk. Because if the 30 days lapsed without an agreement, then we would go back to 400 billion. It was not for us to have an agreement. It was for those pushing an amendment to have an agreement. We would have stuck at 400. But we understand the macroeconomic issues, and I believe we'll grow. The point you've raised is very important, as I now move to what you asked. Devolution, and I will also table to you a publication I did in 2010 with the International Commission of Jurists on the fiscal and operational framework for fiscal decentralization. You know, the operational and legal framework for it. There are 4 principles, but we only focus on one as counties, and sometimes even as Senate. The first one, of course, devolution is based on the principle of subsidiarity. Yeah, that a service is best offered at the lowest level compatible with the benefit of that service.
Your views, because at least mine is clear on how much money should come to the counties. I just want to know, what does he say about some of the things you're saying? And number 2, we have had a conversation in this city about the money that is owed by national government institutions through unpaid rates to the Nairobi City County. Again, I want to understand, when you have those conversations with your party leader, who's the head of state, what is his position on these things?